Silver's doing a lot better today compared with yesterday. Gold is displaying some weakness, but in today's episode, we're going to be talking about potential catalysts that could push gold and silver to the upside. Now, over the course of the past couple of days, we've been noting some weakness here in the overall economy, giving some downside movements to the U.S. 10-year Treasury yield, helping to lessen real yields and boost and keep prices within precious metals elevated. Now, what could possibly bring prices up a little bit more? Well, if we see continued weakness in the dollar, that may be a benefit. Now, let's take a look at where the dollar stands today with some technical analysis. So if we take a look at the DXY, obviously we had some bullishness here, given the fact that we had a golden cross form from out of a death cross in the recent weeks. However, we're starting to see a slowdown here, and in the past few days we started to see the dollar come down pretty aggressively, especially with news of the UK doing pretty well with its Delta variant and the pound pretty much strengthening against the dollar. More on that to come later on this episode. But because of that, we're also seeing the medium-term moving average moving up, and it looks like it might edge up above the longer-term moving average here, which is in yellow. So we may start to see some weakness here in the dollar, but as far as technical analysis is concerned, things are still somewhat in the favor of the US dollar. But let's take a look at silver as far as moving averages are concerned. We had a double bottom here, which helped to give some lift here to silver, but we're starting to see a little bit of some weakness here. Today, we're starting to see a little bit more strength, as I mentioned. And if we take a look at other indicators, such as the Bollinger Bands, RSI, and MACD that I like to look at, we start to see some strength developing here in the RSI, moving back up, the MACD showing some greener pastures here in the histogram, and in the Bollinger Bands, the price action is actually touching the EMA here in the center line, which is good. We're pretty much nearing towards fair value here for silver. Now, what could possibly push it up? Well, again, as I mentioned before, we have weakness here in the macro landscape, not just from the ISM that I talked about yesterday, but also with the big miss of raising the US debt ceiling. And yesterday and even today, we're starting to see some weakness here in the S&P 500 in reaction to this. Now, we had the ISM manufacturing data come out, weakness. We have the miss of the debt ceiling and the Treasury, now paying off some of its debt. There's some weakness there. And also, we spoke about the Delta variant in China coming aboard because of a Russian plane coming in, possibly bringing in the Delta variant. And now China's Wuhan will test all 12 million residents as the variant spreads. Now, here's the thing. Over the course of the last pretty much months, China has been reporting no cases, basically, coming out of the country. If they start to report more cases just coming out of nowhere, I'm sure that'll give continued weakness to the overall macro economy, again helping to keep those yields low. Now, what will keep the dollar low? Well, here we have the news coming out of the UK. As I mentioned before, they've been performing well against the Delta variant, and some are thinking that might bring about some hawkishness coming from the Bank of England on Thursday. So here's a note of that here from poundsterlinglive.com. And here's a quote. more sterling short positions could be jettisoned if the Bank of England's Monetary Policy Committee springs a hawkish surprise on Thursday, says Robert Howard. Markets are largely expecting the bank to announce no significant changes to its policy, so that might not be, amazing news or any kind of news for gold and silver, opting to keep interest rate settings and quantitative easing levels unchanged, but the bank will readjust its economic forecasts and give guidance on the ending of its quantitative easing program while addressing the outlook for interest rates. A shock trim to the quantitative easing program could boost the pound, given that a 7-1 or 6-2 vote to keep QE running at full speed is expected. The pound might also benefit from a larger than expected increase to the Bank of England's inflation projections, as this could raise the perceived probability of an earlier than expected Bank of England rate hike. Sterling may also react positively if the Bank of England sheds light on how and when it might throw its stimulus program into reverse, at Howard. So this Thursday could be a potential day for positive catalysts for gold and silver on the back of weakness to the US dollar if the pound reacts positively to potential news like this. But again, we will need to see news like that come out from the Bank of England. So definitely be on the lookout this Thursday for news coming out from across the pond in England. But the landscape has been set, the foundation has been set with weaker yields in the US 10-year. We again need to see some weakness in the dollar relative to its competitors. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thanks again for watching. It's been Investing with TJ.